Modern life teaches us to avoid discomfort. We're trained to seek ease, to move away from anything hard, but that chase might be what's making us anxious. The Stoics had a different idea, a practice that goes against our instincts. Amor Fati. It means loving your fate. Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor. He faced plagues and wars. In his private notes he wrote, "Don't hope for events to go as you want. Hope that they happen as they do happen. Then you'll be all right." That's the core of it. This is a way to not just get through your hardest days, but to find meaning in them. We can look at what this idea means. We can follow it through Stoic thought, from Epictetus to Seneca. And we can find real steps to change how you face difficulty. This isn't about giving up. It's a deliberate your story, all of it. There's probably some challenge you've been trying to avoid lately. What if that challenge was actually a chance to grow? Your worst day might not be a mistake. It might be necessary. That's the question inside Amor Fati, love of your fate. But it's not about giving up, it's not passive, and it's not about pretending everything is good. That forced positivity, those things make you smaller or they feel dishonest. Amor Fati is different. It's an active choice to align your will with reality. Exactly as it happens, not how you wanted it to be. Nietzsche wrote about this. He said his formula for greatness was Amor Fati, to want nothing to be different. Not in the past, not in the future, not just to bear what's necessary, but to love it. That idea has lasted. For the Stoics, this love was tied to virtue. They saw the universe as a rational whole. Every event was a chance to practice your character, to choose courage or justice or wisdom. Take a simple example. You prepare for a meeting for weeks. You wake up early, focused, then your car won't start. The first reaction is frustration, anxiety. The old story says, "This always happens to me." Now everything is ruined. Amor Fati asks for a pause, to see the event as just an event, not a personal attack. The car is not starting. That's the reality. The love starts by accepting that fact without adding a story of being a victim. Then comes alignment. This has happened. How do I meet it with my best self? You call for help. You rearrange your schedule. You use the waiting time to breathe, to think. The setback becomes practice for patience, for adaptability. The meeting might even go differently because of the calm you found. That minor misfortune wasn't a mistake in your story. It was the material your story needed right then. Loving your fate is really about a Stoic principle, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus, he was a philosopher who was born a slave. He put it very directly. Some things are up to us and some things are not. What's up to us are our opinions, our impulses, what we want, what we try to avoid. That's our domain. But then there's everything else, our body, our possessions, our reputation, any position we hold. Those things aren't fully in our hands, and he taught that suffering, it doesn't come from the events themselves. It comes from the judgments we attach to them. The car won't start, that's just a fact. But the thought that this ruins everything, that it's a personal attack, that's where the pain is. Amor Fati is choosing to shift that internal story, to meet events not with fighting, but with a kind of acceptance. In his writings, Epictetus says we should welcome every event that comes. Don't wish for things to happen as you want, he says. Wish for them to happen as they do happen, and then you'll be okay. That's the shift from resisting reality to moving with it. And the first step is practical. When something difficult happens, you pause, you sort it out in your mind. What here is outside my control? The traffic jam, the rain, how someone else is acting, a cancelled plan. And then what is within my control, my reaction, the effort I make, my outlook, the meaning I decide to give it. Drawing that line, that's how you get your energy back. You stop spending it on what you can't change, and you focus it all on what you can, your own action, your character, that act of sorting, of seeing clearly. that's where the love starts. It begins with seeing, not with a feeling. Marcus Aurelius was running an empire that was under constant pressure. There was a plague moving through the cities. There were wars on multiple frontiers, and he kept these personal journals, what we call the Meditations. They weren't for publication, they were his nightly routine. A way to talk himself into staying steady, and in them he puts forward this striking idea. He wrote that the impediment to action actually advances the action. What stands in the way that becomes the way? That's the art of the obstacle. For him, every single hindrance, every piece of bad news, every personal loss, it wasn't a tragedy. It was raw material. It was the exact substance he needed to build his character, a chance to practice patience, not anger, to choose courage, not fear, to show resilience when things were falling apart. So his reign wasn't just a series of misfortunes. It was his training ground. He had a phrase for this. He wrote about loving the fate the gods have spun for you. Picture that, a thread being woven. You don't choose the color or the texture. Some strands are coarse and dark. Others are smooth and bright. The love comes from trusting the weaver, believing that even the rough threads are essential. They give strength to the whole pattern. His own life was that cloth. The plague wasn't just a catastrophe. It was a daily lesson in compassion, in duty, in leading when people were afraid. The wars weren't merely conflicts. They were relentless tests, tests of his judgment, his endurance. He didn't welcome these because he enjoyed suffering. He welcomed them because they showed him what he was made of. They forced him to become the person he needed to be. That's the active heart of Amor Fati. It turns the obstacle from a wall into a door. A cancelled plan isn't a wasted evening. It's an unexpected gift of quiet time. That difficult conversation you're avoiding, it's not a threat. It's raw material for practicing honesty and kindness under pressure. A project that fails isn't proof of your inadequacy. It's the essential feedback that shapes your next attempt. You start looking for the way inside the impediment, and you realize the obstacle itself is pointing you toward the virtue you need. That's how love for your fate gets built. Not with one grand declaration, but with 1,000 small acceptances, seeing the closed road and immediately looking for the path beside it. Seneca had this view of fortune. He didn't see it as random. He saw it as a kind of trainer, a demanding one. Fortune gives us the challenges we need. It's like life knows what we lack. And it provides the lesson, the difficult lesson, to build that thing. In his letters to Lucilius, he keeps saying it. Welcome what people run from. Poverty teaches you what's necessary. Illness shows you your own strength. Criticism, even unfair criticism, it polishes you, like a rough stone smoothing a gem. He wasn't saying these are pleasant. He was saying they're useful. In On Providence, he goes further. The wise man sees all events as good. That sounds impossible, but look at what he means. It's not that a loss feels good. It's that for someone building character, every event offers the raw material. A smooth life gives you no chance to practice courage. Constant praise doesn't teach humility. Only hardship shows you what you're made of. So his practice was preparation. He'd set aside days to practice poverty. Wear rough clothes, eat simple food, sleep on a hard bed. He was training the muscle of contentment, so if real hardship came, it wouldn't find him a stranger. He'd know the territory. That changes misfortune. It's not a punishment, not bad luck. It's a targeted drill from a coach. Think of a modern setback. A cancelled project, a missed promotion. The immediate story is failure, but Seneca's lens asks a different question. What is this trying to teach me? Maybe it's a forced correction, pushing you toward a path you wouldn't choose. That harsh criticism from a colleague, it stings, but in it there might be a grain of truth. A grain you needed to hear. However it's delivered, that grain is the teacher. Resilience isn't built on easy days. It's forged when you digest a difficult truth. and choose to grow from it. Seneca said we should thank fortune for these lessons, not with a fake smile, with the gratitude a student has for a strict teacher. A teacher who believed you could handle more. That shift changes everything, from seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance to seeing yourself as a student in a rigorous school. It turns the worst day into a classroom. This love for your fate, it's a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. The Stoics knew this. They had a word for it, Sympatheia. That first impression that hits you, a loud noise, a rude comment, that sting, that jolt, that's the impression. But between that impression and your reaction, there's a space. A pause, and in that pause, you have a choice to go along with the first story or to question it. Amor Fati lives in that pause. It's the work of reauthoring the story you tell yourself about what happened. You're not denying the event, you're changing your relationship to what it means. Instead of "this ruined my day," you start to ask, what could this make possible? That shift doesn't come naturally, it comes from drilling. It's like mental fitness. You wouldn't run a marathon without training. You can't face a major loss with grace if you haven't practiced on the small things. So the daily drill is cognitive reframing, taking what bothers you and looking for a different angle, a useful one. There's a simple exercise. Take a current grievance. Something nagging at you, a project that feels pointless, a friend who cancelled plans. Write it down in a sentence or two, just the facts. Then on a new line, start with "this could be useful because," and force yourself to write 3 possibilities. They don't have to feel true at first. This is flexibility. The pointless project, it could be useful because it's teaching me patience with tedious processes. Or because it's showing me a type of work I don't want to do. Or because it's a chance to practice focusing when I'm not inspired. The cancelled plans useful because they gave me an unexpected quiet evening I needed. Or because they remind me not to hinge my happiness on others' availability. Or because they're a chance to reach out to someone else. The point isn't to find the perfect silver lining. The point is to prove to your own mind there's always another perspective. You're training your brain's search function to stop looking only for threats and disappointments, and to start scanning for hidden utility. What's one recent annoyance you could reinterpret as useful? That act of rewriting the story, however small, that's the practical heartbeat of loving your fate. It's how you build the mental muscle to face the larger threads life weaves for you. Our culture pushes comfort as the main goal, a life with no friction, no inconvenience, no discomfort at all. But the Stoics saw a real danger in that. They thought chasing only ease made a person weak, like a muscle that never gets worked, so they did something radical on purpose. They brought hardship in, voluntary discomfort. The philosopher Musonius Rufus taught this. He said comfort was the enemy of virtue. We should seek out challenges, he argued. A plain meal over a feast, a cold bath, not a warm one, walking instead of riding. This wasn't punishment, it was training for the mind. It was building that acceptance muscle Amor Fati needs. The Cynics who came before the Stoics went further. They lived with almost nothing by choice to prove happiness wasn't about possessions or status. They wanted to show the things people fear losing aren't needed for a good life. By giving them up voluntarily, they became free. The Stoic approach was more practical. More part of daily life, the cold shower on a winter morning, skipping a meal, taking the harder path. Each small act is a rehearsal. You're practicing how you'll respond when life gives you a difficulty you didn't choose. When you face a minor chill on purpose, you teach your nervous system that discomfort isn't an emergency. It's just a sensation, it passes, you stay. So when real hardship comes, a loss or a deep disappointment, it doesn't find you unprepared. You've already stood in the cold, you know you can bear it. The sting is gone because you've familiarized yourself with enduring. This practice changes the relationship from seeing hardship as a foreign invader to fight, to seeing it as familiar territory, a place where you've already built a camp. So how do you start without making life a trial? You pick one tiny, safe inconvenience. And you embrace it fully, not with gritted teeth but with curiosity. Make it a deliberate ritual. Maybe it's a tech-free hour before bed. Not just putting the phone away but welcoming the quiet. Observing the restlessness that comes up and saying, this is the practice, this is the training, or taking the stairs instead of the elevator, and in that moment of slight exertion, feeling your strength. Or choosing to listen fully in a boring conversation, practicing patience. The point is to select the challenge, to be the one who says, this minor hardship is my teacher today. In that act of choosing, you reclaim your agency. You're not just a passive recipient of whatever life throws. You're an active participant, building resilience brick by brick. That daily choice, that small embrace of the unnecessary difficulty, is how you forge the inner strength to love the necessary ones. It's the quiet, daily preparation for your fate. Gratitude follows that love of fate. Amor Fati is the deep acceptance, and then gratitude is the quiet thank you that comes after. But it's not about being grateful for everything. That can feel forced. It's about being grateful in every situation, for the opportunity it gives you specifically. The Stoics saw a rational universe, a logos where everything is connected. From that wide view, even a painful event serves the whole. It has a place in a larger pattern. We don't have to see the whole pattern. Our job is to trust it's there and to find our role in the small piece we've been given. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this. He told himself to ask in every single hour, what is there here that's actually unbearable? You'll be shamed, he said, into giving up your anger. In every hour, he insisted, there's a gift. The gift is the chance to practice some part of your humanity you might otherwise forget. That's where growth starts. The gratitude isn't for the pain itself. It's for the raw material it gives you for your character. You can make this a daily ritual with a journal. Not just listing good things, that's common and it's valuable, but try a deeper version. At the end of the day, write down one challenging event, not the worst thing. Just something that caused a ripple of frustration. Then write one sentence that starts with, this challenged me to practice, and you fill in the rest. This delayed train challenged me to practice patience. This difficult feedback challenged me to practice humility. This tiring day challenged me to practice self-care. You're not saying the event was good. You're naming the specific muscle it asked you to use. That act of naming is the gratitude. It's acknowledging that even the unwanted hour had a purpose for you. It was a teacher in disguise. Over time, this rewires your attention. You begin to meet obstacles differently, not with a sigh of defeat, but with a quiet question inside. What are you here to teach me? And the answer is always the same. You are here to make me more resilient, more patient, more human. And for that, even on the hardest days, there's space for a real thank you. That quiet thank you is a step, but there's still a deep resistance. You look at the hardship you're learning from, and a small voice protests, but it's not fair. It's a reflex. A child says it over a bigger piece of cake. An adult thinks it when a colleague gets credit they didn't earn. You say it to yourself when illness hits someone kind, or a plan falls apart through no fault of your own. It's a cry against the injustice of the thing. The Stoics would hear that cry, and then they'd ask a direct question. Who promised you fairness? The universe, nature, the gods. They never signed a contract. They never guaranteed life would meet your standards. Expecting that is a fantasy, a painful one. It's like standing on the shore and demanding the waves not get your feet wet. The ocean isn't being unfair, it's just being the ocean. Epictetus went straight at this. He said when you're disturbed by someone else's actions, you've forgotten something. That what they do is their business. It belongs to their reasoning, their impulses. To be upset by it is to choose to be upset. You hand your peace over to their behavior, which you can't control. Amor Fati means letting go of that entitlement to fairness. It means accepting the world as it is, not as you think it should be. this isn't about becoming passive. It's not about stopping work for justice between people. It's about releasing the personal grievance you hold against reality itself when it doesn't line up with your wishes. The traffic jam isn't targeting you. The bureaucratic delay isn't a conspiracy. They're just events in a complex system. These minor frustrations are training grounds. The next time you're stuck in a long line, or a website crashes, or someone cuts you off, notice the story that comes up, the story that says this shouldn't be happening. This is an inconvenience I don't deserve. Then practice the shift. This is happening. This is part of the flow of things today. My task isn't to judge the universe for its lack of fairness right now. My task is to navigate this moment with my character intact. Can I breathe instead of fume? Can I use the waiting time to watch my thoughts? Can I let go of the clenched expectation that my journey should be smooth? Each time you do that, you wear down the fantasy of a perfectly just personal story. You stop seeing yourself as the central character in a tale that's supposed to be fair. You start seeing yourself as a participant in a vast, unfolding process. Some parts of that process will feel aligned, good. Others will feel chaotic. Harsh, Amor Fati is the decision to love your place in all of it, not because it's fair, but because it's yours, and from that ground of acceptance, not complaint, that's where your real power to act with virtue begins. The power to act starts with how you see things. Marcus Aurelius had this exercise he'd do over and over. He called it the view from above. It's about zooming out way past whatever's right in front of you. You picture yourself lifting up from where you are. You see the room, then the building, then your whole neighborhood from above, and you keep going. Your city turns into a little grid of lights, your country just a shape. The earth itself becomes this small blue dot in all that black space, and from there, your life, that urgent problem, that insult from yesterday, it all gets very small. Not meaningless, but part of something so big it changes the weight of it. He wrote about looking down at an emperor's court from that height. It's just a little nook. All the status fights, the scrambling for favor, it looks like ants on a hill. That cosmic perspective, it wasn't to make you feel tiny. It was to give you freedom. A kind of detachment. When you're in the middle of something hard, it's your whole world. It's all you can see. The view from above pulls the camera back. It shows you your struggle is one thread in a tapestry woven over thousands of years. Generations have lived here, loved, faced loss. Empires have risen and turned to dust. Your current worry, seen from 100 years in the future, will probably be a footnote, forgotten even in your own story. And this ties right into loving your fate. Amor Fati isn't just accepting what happens, it's seeing its place in a grand pattern, indifferent and beautiful. The universe isn't hostile or kind. It just is. It runs on cause and effect, growth and decay. Your personal misfortune, a lost job, a rejection, an illness, it's not a targeted strike. It's a natural occurrence in that huge system. A wave in an ocean. When you see it that way, the personal sting can ease. You can start to appreciate the event not for how it feels, but for how it fits. Try it now. Think of something that feels heavy, a current concern. Now imagine you're a historian looking back from 100 years from now. How would that historian describe this moment in your life? They wouldn't feel your anxiety. They'd see the context. They might call it a turning point, a challenge that came before a period of growth. They'd see it as part of a sequence, not an isolated catastrophe. That shift is liberating. It lets you hold your fate with a lighter grip, to love it not as a painful burden you carry alone, but as your unique, necessary part in the story of everything. Your thread, dark or bright, is essential to the whole, and from that cosmic vantage point, the only real question is how beautifully you choose to weave it. The deepest test isn't inconvenience, it's loss. That's where this idea can feel most challenging and most necessary. Stoicism doesn't ask you to deny the pain of grief. That pain is a testament to love. It asks a different question. How do you carry that love forward? how you find meaning inside the emptiness, a quiet sense of duty. Amor Fati here, it's not about loving the loss itself, that would be inhuman. It's about loving the life that contained the person you miss, and loving the person you have to become now because they're gone. Seneca wrote a letter of consolation to a woman named Marcia who had lost her son. He didn't tell her to stop weeping, he acknowledged the wound, but then he guided her gaze. He asked her to honor her son, not with endless sorrow, by living in a way that would make him proud, to let his memory inspire her virtue, not paralyze her life. The fate we're asked to love in grief is the reality of a world that now holds their absence. Our task is to weave that absence into our ongoing story. With dignity, it begins with a shift in framing, a subtle one, powerful, the thought I have lost them that can be a source of pure desolation, but another thought can sit beside it in time. I was privileged to have had them. Amor Fati leans toward the second. It chooses to focus gratitude on the gift of the past, even while aching in the present. It means you honor the memory by recalling stories with a smile, however bittersweet. You honor their impact on you by living out the values they exemplified. Maybe they were kind, you practice extra kindness in their name. Maybe they were resilient, you call on that resilience now. The practice in grief is often found in small, deliberate actions. It might be visiting a place they loved, just sitting with the memory. It might be continuing a tradition they started. It's the decision on the hardest days to perform one act of life. To cook a meal, to take a walk, to help someone else. This isn't moving on. It's moving with the loss, integrating it into your steps. You're not pretending the weight isn't there. You're learning how to stand upright beneath it, and in that slow, steadfast standing, you discover a strength you didn't know you had. That strength becomes part of your fate too. And you can learn in time to be grateful for its presence, for the depth it carved into your character. The love for the person transforms through practice into a love for the enduring impact they left within you. That's how you love a fate that includes goodbye, by ensuring that what you loved about them continues to live through you. Failure is treated like a stain, a mark on a perfect record. Our culture talks about winning, about success without a misstep, but that story isn't complete. It doesn't leave room for falling short. Amor Fati changes that. It asks us to see failure not as a final verdict, but as feedback, the most honest feedback you can get. It's essential data. The kind you only get by trying and missing. Every meaningful journey, every skill you master, every discovery is paved with necessary failures. They aren't the opposite of success. They're the raw material. The Stoics understood this. They shifted the entire goal. For them, the only thing that was truly good or bad was your character. Your virtue, everything else, the outcomes, the results, the praise or the scorn, those were external events, preferred or dispreferred, but not morally significant. What mattered was your intention, your effort. Did you act with courage? Did you pursue justice? Did you exercise wisdom? If you did, then the outcome, even a spectacular failure, was irrelevant. You succeeded where it counted. Inside, there's Cato the Younger, a Roman senator who opposed Julius Caesar's rise. He fought for the old republic with everything he had. And he lost completely. When Caesar's victory was certain, Cato took his own life rather than live under a tyranny. By the standard of winning, Cato was a complete failure. His cause was crushed, but for the Stoics who came after, like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, Cato became a symbol, not of victory but of integrity. His defeat showed what unwavering principle looked like. His failure became fuel for an ideal. It proved some things are more important than earthly success. His story was a lesson in loving a fate that included standing for what was right, even facing certain loss. You can bring this into your own life with a simple step. Think of a past failure that still stings, a project that flopped, a goal you didn't reach. Instead of revisiting it with regret, conduct a detached post-mortem. Sit with a notebook, write a brief, factual description of what happened. Then, on a new page, write a single heading. Lessons learned, and list them, only the lessons. What did this reveal about your process, about your assumptions, about what truly matters to you? Maybe it taught you that you need a different kind of support, or that your original goal wasn't aligned with your values, or that persistence needs flexibility. The key is curiosity, not judgment. You're an archaeologist sifting through the ruins of that event, looking not for blame but for artifacts of insight. Each lesson you uncover is a piece of fuel, energy for your next attempt. By reframing the failure this way, you perform an act of Amor Fati. You accept that event as a necessary, instructive part of your path. You begin to love it not for the pain but for the wisdom it forced you to find. That wisdom becomes part of your fate, and it makes every future step a little more sure. Profound acceptance isn't always solemn. There's a lightness to it. The Stoics understood that. They saw humor as a tool, a way to shrink a problem down to its actual size. Marcus Aurelius, under the weight of his responsibilities, would remind himself of the absurdity. He wrote about the people in the palace scrambling for position. He called their pursuits the dancing of puppets. That wasn't a bitter insult. It was a shift in perspective. Seeing that frantic drama from a slight distance made it less serious, less deserving of his distress. Seneca was also known for his wit. He wrote about the foolishness of human anxiety over things that are, in the grand scheme, so small. He used irony to show how we inflate minor troubles into major tragedies. This humor is a form of cognitive mastery. When you can find the irony in a situation, you create a small space between you and the event. You stop being fully immersed in the frustration. You become an observer who can see the comedy in the chaos. It's a gentle form of power. You're no longer at the mercy of the thing. You're standing beside it, smiling at its ridiculousness. This has to be distinguished from cynicism. Cynicism mocks, it belittles. It's a defense mechanism that hardens the heart. The Stoic use of humor is different. It's directed inward at your own reactions or upward at the universal folly we all share. It never laughs at another's genuine pain. It laughs at the human condition itself, our capacity to make mountains out of molehills. Think of a simple, modern moment. You're rushing out the door, mind full of the day's important tasks. You swing your arm and knock over a full cup of coffee. It spreads across the counter, drips onto the floor, ruins some papers. The first reaction is a surge of anger, a curse. This always happens, now I'm late. Everything is stained, the old story takes over. The Stoic practice of lightness asks for a pause. Look at the scene, the brown river on the white counter. The frantic, useless dabbing with a tiny napkin. The sheer disproportion between the event and your internal storm. There is a comedy here. You, a grown person, brought to the brink by a spilled beverage. Can you see it? Can you let a laugh escape, not at the mess, but at the epic narrative you just built around it? That laugh is Amor Fati in action. It's loving the fate of the chaotic, sticky moment. It's accepting the reality, the coffee is spilled, and choosing to meet it not with wrath but with a shrug and a smile. You clean it up, the world does not end. The important tasks still wait, but you carry a lighter heart into them. That lightness is a superpower. It transforms a minor misfortune from a spoiler of your mood into a brief, humorous interlude. It's how you practice loving a fate that includes spilled coffee and human clumsiness. And if you can love that, you're building the resilience to face fates of much greater weight with the same steady, unbreakable calm. That coffee spill, it's just one sentence. It doesn't ruin the whole story. We tend to judge things as they happen. We call them good or bad right then, based on how they feel in the moment. But the Stoics saw something else. They understood that the real meaning of an event, it often needs time to show itself. They called that patience, not just waiting. It's a deep trust in how fate unfolds, believing that the full benefit, the complete story of what happened to you, you might not see it for weeks or months. or even years. Amor Fati asks you to love the whole timeline, to love the seed in the dark earth, not just the flower. The Stoics loved farming metaphors. A farmer plants in spring with faith, not certainty. He doesn't dig up the seeds every day to check. He tends to the conditions, the soil, the water, and trusts the process. He knows some seasons are for planting, others, harder seasons, are for waiting. A drought might bring deeper roots, a harsh winter might clear the ground for new growth. You can't see that purpose in February. You have to wait for May. Your life is the same. A job loss feels like an ending when it happens. It's a shock, a rupture, but if you could fast forward your life's timeline, you might see that loss was the necessary push, the push that sent you toward a path you were meant to walk. A path you would have been too comfortable to choose otherwise. That difficult conversation that caused a rift from a distance. It might look like the moment a relationship found its honest footing, or the moment you learned to set a vital boundary. The key is to suspend the final judgment, to hold the event lightly with curiosity and say, I don't yet know what this is for. It's like reading a book. You hit a difficult, painful chapter. A beloved character faces a setback or makes a terrible mistake. In the moment, you might want to skip ahead. You might think the author ruined the story, but you keep reading, and by the final pages, that difficult chapter is essential. It gave the hero the motivation they needed. It created the tension that made the resolution meaningful. Without it, the ending would feel shallow, unearned. Your life is being authored with that same care, even if you can't see the outline. Amor Fati is loving that difficult chapter while you're still in it, trusting that the author, call it fate, call it the logic of the universe, knows the whole arc. Your patience is your cooperation with that authorship. It's you turning the page instead of slamming the book shut. So the next time you face something that seems purely negative, practice that pause. Label it not as a disaster but as a current chapter, a chapter whose title you don't yet know, and choose to love your place in the narrative, trusting that its purpose will unfold with time. The author of your life doesn't write in straight lines. The Stoics had a word for that pattern, Sympatheia. It's the interconnectedness of all things. Every event, every person, every choice is a thread in one vast tapestry. Pull one thread here and the pattern shifts somewhere else. You can't see it from your small corner of the cloth. Your personal misfortune is never just yours. It's a node in a web of cause and effect, a ripple that travels outward, touching lives far beyond your own. That's where Amor Fati expands, from a personal practice into something almost cosmic. It asks you to love your fate not just for what it does for you, but for its role in the whole. For the unseen goods it sets in motion elsewhere. A forest fire looks like pure destruction, but ecologists will tell you it clears old growth. It releases seeds that need heat to sprout. It returns nutrients to the soil. The fire is catastrophic for the individual trees, but it's a necessary reset for the health of the entire forest. Your life is part of a similar ecology. A job you didn't get might have freed that position for someone else, someone whose entire family depended on it. A relationship that ended in heartbreak might have sent both of you toward different partners. Partners you are truly meant for, allowing two future families to exist that otherwise never would have. A difficult conversation with a friend might have been the catalyst, the thing that helped them seek the support they needed. You rarely get to see these branching pathways, but you can trust they exist. That perspective softens the personal sting. It asks you to see your hardship not as a targeted punishment, but as a necessary adjustment, an adjustment in a system too complex for you to fully map. Your thread is being woven. Sometimes the tug feels harsh, but it's creating tension, the tension that gives shape to the entire design. Try this as a quiet contemplation. Look at a current good in your life, a deep friendship, a fulfilling project, a sense of peace you've built. Now trace the line backward. Can you find an old pain there? A rejection, a failure that set you on the path to this very spot. That lost opportunity forced you to develop a skill you now rely on every day. That period of loneliness taught you how to be a better friend. That illness slowed you down enough to discover what you truly valued. The difficulty wasn't a detour. It was the necessary road, the only road that led you here. When you can see that line, however faint, you're practicing Sympatheia. You're acknowledging your place in the web. And from that vantage point, loving your fate becomes an act of trust in the weave itself. It's a decision to believe that even your darkest threads are essential to a pattern more beautiful than you can currently see. Trust in the weave is a kind of strength. There's an old Stoic exercise meant to build that exact trust. It's called Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils, which sounds dark at first, like you're inviting worry in, but that's not it. This practice is actually a direct path to Amor Fati. It's not dwelling on fears, it's a deliberate rehearsal. You visit a potential hardship in your mind, not to suffer through it, but to disarm it, to see it clearly. And in that clear seeing, you do two things. You prepare your mind to face it with calm if it ever comes, and maybe more beautifully, you return to the present with a fresh, deep appreciation for what you already have. It's a paradox. By contemplating loss, you deepen your love for what's here. Seneca did this. He'd remind himself that his wealth, his status, the people he loved, they were all on loan from fortune. He wrote that we should love all our dear things, but always with the thought that we have no promise we can keep them forever. That wasn't to make love cold. It was to make it more precious, more awake. It creates a grateful detachment. You hold things lightly, not because you care less, but because you see their true, fleeting value. And that's the core of loving fate. To love something fully, knowing its time in your life isn't guaranteed. We can try a brief version of this now. It's a mental exercise in grateful focus. Find a comfortable position, take a gentle breath. Now bring to mind something common you rely on, something you might take for granted. It could be the use of your hands, the ability to walk, the comfort of your home, or the presence of someone you see every day. Now, for just a moment, imagine, not with panic, but with calm curiosity, what it would be like if that thing were gone. If an injury limited your hands, if you could no longer live in your home, if distance separated you from that person, don't dwell on the pain, just notice the sense of absence. The quiet space where that comfort once was. Hold that feeling for a few heartbeats, then let the image go. Come back to the present. Feel the keyboard under your fingers. See the walls around you. Remember the last text from that person. What do you feel? Often, it's a wave of simple, unforced gratitude. The object hasn't changed, but your perception of it has. It's been polished. It shines again. That's the magic of the practice. You haven't created anxiety. You've performed a reset. You've reminded your heart that this right here, right now, is the gift. This moment, with all its ordinary comforts, is the fate to love. By visiting the potential loss in your mind, you return loving the present reality more deeply. You are, in a quiet way, practicing Amor Fati. You're choosing to see the beauty of the thread while it's still in the tapestry, not after it's been pulled away. This daily, momentary rehearsal builds a resilient joy. It ensures your love for your life isn't conditional on everything staying the same. It's a love that says, I see you, I cherish you, and I am ready, if necessary, to let you go. That readiness isn't fear, it's the deepest form of freedom. And from that free and grateful place, you can meet any turn of fate not with resistance, but with an open, steady heart. That freedom to love what is, it finds its highest expression in duty. For the Stoics, the purpose of life wasn't personal happiness, not in a fleeting sense. It was to live according to nature, and that meant to live with virtue, and virtue is always expressed through action. It comes through our roles. We are never just individuals floating free. We are children, we are parents, friends, employees. We are neighbors and citizens, and each of these roles comes with inherent duties. responsibilities that are often difficult. They're repetitive and they're unseen. Amor Fati, the love of fate, it applies directly here. It means loving the fate of being a parent on a sleepless night. It means loving the fate of being a reliable employee during a tedious project. It means loving the fate of being a supportive friend when you are tired yourself. This is where philosophy meets the floor, where the abstract idea gets its most practical test. Do you resent your duties, or do you embrace them as the very material of your character? Marcus Aurelius is the perfect example. He did not seek the imperial throne. He was adopted into the role, and he found it to be a relentless burden. Plague, war, political intrigue, the immense weight of decision-making for millions, he could have seen it as a curse, a fate to be endured with bitterness. But in his private writings, he reframed it. He called his position his post, a duty assigned by the universe itself. He wrote that you must stand upright, not be held upright. To him, loving his fate meant performing the duties of an emperor, with integrity, with justice, with patience, not because he enjoyed every moment, but because it was his assigned station. His arena for practicing virtue, the palace was not his reward, it was his gymnasium. Every difficult meeting, every piece of bad news from the frontier, every demand on his time. That was another weight to lift, another chance to strengthen his moral fiber. He loved that fate because it gave him the maximum opportunity to fulfill his purpose. To be of service according to his highest capacity. Now translate that to a modern life. You have a role. Maybe you are a teacher grading a stack of papers on a Friday night. The work is necessary but far from glamorous. The old story whispers that this is a grind, a theft of your personal time. Amor Fati asks for a shift. This stack of papers is not a curse, it is your current arena, your post. In this moment, your duty is to provide fair assessment, to provide useful feedback. The virtue to practice is diligence. The contribution is to the growth of your students. By embracing the task fully, not with resentment but with a sense of purposeful service, you transform it. You are no longer just checking boxes, you are fulfilling the duty of your station. You are weaving your thread into the larger tapestry of your community. The same applies to caring for an aging parent, or meeting a tight deadline at work, or serving on a local committee. The difficulty of the duty is not a sign you are on the wrong path. It is often the sign you are exactly where you need to be. Growth happens at the edges of our comfort, in the spaces where we must stretch to meet an obligation. So look at your own roles. What is one duty you have been resisting lately? View it through this lens. See it not as a burden imposed upon you, but as your specific arena. Your unique gymnasium for building patience, for building resilience, for building contribution. When you can approach that duty with a sense of purpose, you are not just getting through it. You are loving your fate. You are accepting the thread you have been given and weaving it with strength and care. That is how a life of meaning is built. Not in the avoidance of duty, but in its wholehearted embrace. Suffering gets worse when we fixate on one perfect future. We're attached not just to a goal, but to exactly how it has to look, the precise steps it has to follow. We imagine the promotion, the perfect response in a conversation, the flawless plan. And when reality shifts even a little, it feels like a failure. The Stoics had a tool for that, the analogy of the archer, a master archer. Their whole focus is on the process, what they can control. They choose their stance. They feel the tension of the bowstring, the alignment. They release the arrow with a clean motion. That's their virtue. Their excellence is in the aiming. But once the arrow leaves the bow, it's not theirs anymore. A sudden gust of wind, the target moving, an imperfection in the arrow, those are outside their control. The master archer doesn't define success by the arrow hitting the bullseye. Success is performing the shot with perfect skill and concentration. If the arrow flies true, that's a preferred outcome. If it misses, the archer's excellence is still there because their duty was to aim well, not to command the wind. That's the heart of releasing attachment. Amor Fati, in this light, means loving the actual result, because the actual result, hit or miss, provides the true test of your character. Did you aim with integrity? Did you give your full effort to the process? If you did, then any outcome is just the raw material for your next act of virtue. A hit invites humility, not arrogance. A miss invites resilience and curiosity, not despair. The world tells you to obsess over the target. Stoicism asks you to fall in love with the aiming. You can practice this before any important event. Instead of a rigid expectation for a specific outcome, I will get the job, they will say yes, the project will triumph. Set a simple intention for your own character. Your intention might be to be fully present, to listen with patience, to speak with clarity and kindness, to contribute your best effort without attachment to how it's received. Write it down. I intend to be courageous. I intend to be fair. That moves your mental energy from an uncertain future you can't control back to the present moment you can. You walk into the meeting, the conversation, the performance, carrying that intention like the archer's focus. The outcome will be what it will be, but you'll know you met your fate not with clinging hands but with a steady aim. And in that knowledge, regardless of where the arrow lands, you find a quiet victory. That steady aim leaves no room for regret. There's this fantasy we carry around. The other path, the job you didn't take, the person you didn't speak to, the city you left behind. In your mind, that other road has this perfect, untested light. A life without the particular problems you have right now. And that fantasy, it creates a quiet discontent. It tells you your real happiness is somewhere else. In a different set of choices, Stoic acceptance, what they call determinism, confronts that directly. It's not about a cosmic script where every detail is written. It's the practical understanding that dwelling on hypotheticals, it drains your energy. It pulls you out of the one life you're actually living. Amor Fati asks you to see that other path as a ghost, and to turn your full attention, your full investment toward the ground you're standing on now. There's an old Stoic metaphor, a dog tied to a cart. The cart is moving forward, that's fate, the course of events. The dog has a choice. It can strain against the rope, dig in its paws, choke, fight the direction. Or it can choose to run alongside it, willingly, keeping pace. The destination is the same, but the experience is completely different. One is a struggle, full of resistance and pain. The other is an alignment, a kind of partnership with the journey. Amor Fati is the decision to run willingly, to stop pulling against the rope of your actual circumstances. Your actual past, your actual present, the energy you spend longing for a different yesterday, that's energy stolen from building a better today. Think of a past decision you revisit. A relationship you ended, a career shift. The mind loves to paint a picture of an easier life, a smoother life if you'd chosen differently. But that picture is a fiction. It assumes everything else would have stayed the same, that no new challenges would have appeared on that other road. It ignores the specific strength you built because you took the harder path. The resilience, the self-knowledge, the unexpected connections from your actual journey, those are real. The alternate path is a story. To love your fate is to drop the story and pick up the tools of your reality. It's to look at the path beneath your feet, with all its rocks and turns and surprising views, and say, this is my road. I'll walk it with my eyes open, my heart engaged, and I'll find the beauty in its real, uneven contours, not in the smooth fantasy of a map I never used. The Stoics talked about a sound mind in a sound body. It wasn't about appearance, it was because the body holds the soul, and disciplining the body is a direct route to mental strength. Physical training is a concrete metaphor for loving your fate. When you choose to exercise, you're willingly taking on discomfort, the muscle burn, the heavy breath, the urge to quit. Right then, you have a choice to follow the impulse for ease or to lean into the difficulty. You're practicing Amor Fati in a literal, small way, accepting the strain not as punishment, but as the material for building something stronger. This isn't about extremes, it's the mindful, consistent choice of a challenge. That's where grit is built. Grit is that persistent drive toward a long-term goal. Staying with the boring, painful, frustrating parts of practice because you trust they're building something durable, holding a plank 10 seconds longer than is comfortable. You're not just strengthening your core, you're strengthening your will, sending a message to your entire being that you can bear discomfort, find steadiness inside strain, and that this hardship has a clear, beneficial purpose. This physical practice translates to emotional resilience. When life brings a different kind of burn criticism, disappointment, long fatigue, your body remembers. It remembers you faced difficulty by choice and came out stronger. That memory becomes a quiet confidence, a trust in your own capacity to endure. So consider your physical limits, not as enemies but as teachers. Next time you're on a walk and want to turn back early, or in a workout when your mind says to quit, pause, see that moment not as a barrier but as your arena. This minor challenge is your current fate. Can you meet it not with resistance but with a kind of grateful engagement? Can you love the effort for what it's forging inside you? That shift from fighting the burn to using it is a profound rehearsal. You're training your entire being to accept difficulty as fuel. And in doing that, you build the foundation for loving any fate life brings. That quiet confidence in your own capacity, it often shows up as silence. There are moments when fate delivers a blow, and the only right response isn't a speech, it isn't a plan, it's a deep, internal quiet. The Stoics understood this. They saw it as a profound form of acceptance. You get difficult news, you face a sharp provocation. The first impulse is to protest, to argue with reality, to lash out, to fill the air with noise. Amor Fati in these moments is practiced in the stillness between the stimulus and your reaction. It's the decision to meet the wave, not with a shout but with the steady presence of a cliff. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this. He told himself to be like the rock. The rock the waves keep crashing against. It stands unmoved, and around it the tumult of the water subsides. This isn't about suppressing emotion. It's not about becoming numb or indifferent. It's about calm acknowledgement. You see the wave coming, you feel its impact, but you choose not to be swept away, not swept away by the secondary storm. The storm of your own mental commentary. The event is one thing. Your story about the event, that it's unfair, that it ruins everything, that it shouldn't be, that's the real tumult. Stoic silence is letting that story go. It's creating a space of non-resistance inside yourself, a space where you can simply say internally, this is what is happening. This is the reality of this moment. From that quiet place of assent, you can then choose. You can choose how to act with clarity, not from a place of frantic reaction. Think of a minor daily irritation. Someone cuts in front of you in line. A colleague sends a terse, dismissive email. The old pattern is to fuel a mental monologue. How rude, who do they think they are? This shouldn't be allowed. That monologue is the crashing wave. It agitates your nervous system far more than the event itself. The practice of silent acceptance is to feel the initial sting, and then, instead of feeding the story, take one deliberate, deep breath. In that breath, offer a silent, internal nod. This is happening. This person is acting this way. This email has been sent. That's all. You are not endorsing the behavior. You are not saying it's good. You are simply acknowledging the fact of it. From that grounded quiet, you reclaim your power. You can now decide, do I address this calmly? Do I let it pass? The action you choose will be wiser because it came from a place of acceptance, not from a place of internal war. This silent assent is the purest form of loving your fate. It is loving the truth of the present moment, loving it enough to see it clearly without the distortion of your wish for it to be different. It is how you become the rock and let the chaos of the world break harmlessly around your steady, unshakable core. Silence is your own fortress. But the world outside, that's shared. We don't practice this acceptance alone. Our fates are woven together. The strength you build, it isn't just for you. It ripples out. The Stoics talked about being a citizen of the world. That meant seeing your life as part of a larger community, sharing in a common human fate. Your hardship isn't a private curse, it's a thread in a tapestry that includes everyone's struggles, and in that shared space there's a powerful source of strength. It's witnessing someone else practice Amor Fati. You see a friend face a loss with grace, or a neighbor meet a setback with quiet determination. It does something. It shows you what's possible. Their courage becomes a mirror. It reflects a strength you can also reach. It reminds you that resilience isn't a superpower for a select few. It's a human capacity. It's waiting to be chosen. This shared witnessing builds a community of fate, a network, not of people with perfect lives, but of people committed to facing imperfect lives with dignity. In this community, support takes a specific shape. It's not about fixing someone's problem for them. It's not offering empty platitudes. The most stoic form of support is non-judgmental presence. It's sitting with a friend in their hardship without rushing to label it a tragedy, without immediately trying to solve it. It's listening and then maybe reflecting back what you see. Not the story of disaster, but the evidence of their character. You might say, I see how hard this is, and I also see how steady you are being. That kind of support is an external expression of Amor Fati. You're helping them see their own fate, not as a crushing weight, but as an arena where their strength is already visible. You're holding up a lantern. Not to show them a way out, but to show them the solid ground they are already standing on. And in doing that for another, you reinforce the philosophy within yourself. You practice seeing hardship as material for virtue, even when it's not your own. Now consider your own circles, your family, your friends, your colleagues. Your attitude toward your own misfortunes is contagious. If you meet a professional disappointment with frantic anxiety and complaint, you seed that energy into your shared space. You teach those around you that setbacks are emergencies, but if you meet the same event with calm acknowledgement, a focus on the next right step, you broadcast a different lesson. You demonstrate that difficulty is manageable, that our peace is not hostage to external events. This influence is subtle, but immense. A parent who faces financial strain with resourcefulness instead of panic teaches a child about security. Security that comes from within. A team leader who handles a failed project with focused analysis, not blame, builds a culture of resilience. Your personal practice of loving your fate, it becomes a quiet gift to your community. It creates an atmosphere where challenges are met not with fear but with collective resolve. You become a living example, the rock in the waves, and others may find themselves standing a little firmer beside you. So the next time you face a difficulty, ask yourself a second question. Not only what can this teach me, but what can my response teach those who are watching? How can my acceptance become a form of strength I share? Your story is just material. It's waiting for a shape. That deep acceptance of your fate, it builds resilience, but it can also fuel creation. Throughout history, the most moving art, the most lasting literature, it often comes from a place of personal hardship. That's not a coincidence, it's Amor Fati. The artist takes the very thing that could break them, a loss, an illness, deep isolation, and instead of letting it define them as a victim, they define it. They give it form. They transform raw, painful experience into something that can be shared, understood, even found beautiful. It's the ultimate Stoic recycling. Making constructive, virtuous use of every experience. especially the difficult ones. It's saying, this happened to me, and I will not waste it. I will alchemize it into something new. We can look at figures across time, poets, painters, musicians. They channeled personal struggles into work that speaks across generations. Their process was a kind of sacred dialogue with their fate. They didn't ignore the pain, they engaged with it fully, with curiosity. They asked, what can I make from this? How can this clay of suffering be molded into a vessel that holds meaning for others? The focus isn't on the graphic details of their hardship, it's on the transformative act itself, the decision to use the darkest threads to weave a more complex pattern. This is an invitation you can extend to your own life. Whether you consider yourself an artist or not, your story, with all its twists and challenges, is your unique material. You are the author of what it means. Amor Fati in a creative sense means looking at the chapters of your life, especially the difficult ones, and asking not, why did this happen to me, but what can I build with this? The answer doesn't have to be a novel or a symphony. It can be a new perspective you share with a friend, a garden you nurture from a patch of neglected ground, a business idea born from a professional setback, a deeper sense of empathy you carry into your relationships. The act of creation is imposing order and meaning on chaos. It's taking the random events of fate and saying, I will participate in my own story. I will add my intention. I will make something from this, so consider a challenge you carry. Now imagine it not as a burden, but as a block of stone, rough, heavy, unformed. Your acceptance is the first step, acknowledging the stone is there in your path. The creative act of Amor Fati is the next. It's picking up your tools and beginning patiently to carve, not to remove the stone entirely, but to reveal the shape within it. The shape of your own growth, your understanding, your contribution. Every strike of the chisel is a choice to love your fate enough to work with it. To believe that even this difficult material can become part of something strong and true and uniquely yours. The creative act is a nightly ritual. It's how you carve meaning from the day's raw stone. For the Stoics, this wasn't a metaphor. It was a concrete practice, the evening review, a quiet time to sit with the day that has passed, not to judge yourself harshly, not to catalogue failures, but to examine your reactions, to ask a simple, profound question. Did I meet this piece of my fate with virtue? Could I have loved it more? This is where Amor Fati moves from a grand idea into the fabric of your life. It's the integration, the daily stitching of acceptance into your character. You find a quiet space, maybe just before sleep. You look back over the hours. You don't need to recount every detail. You look for the moments of friction. The small event that sparked irritation, the unexpected delay that triggered anxiety, the difficult conversation that left you feeling defensive. You hold each one lightly. First, you name the event, just the facts. The meeting ran long. The comment from a friend felt dismissive. The project hit an unexpected snag. Then you turn your attention inward. To your own mind in that moment. What was my first reaction? Did I immediately tell myself a story of unfairness? Did I feel my body tense with resistance? This isn't about blaming yourself for having a human reaction. It's about seeing it clearly, with compassion, and then you ask the Amor Fati question. Given that this event was my fate in that moment, how did I meet it? Did I meet it with patience or with resentment, with courage or with avoidance? With a willingness to find the way or with a desire for a different path? You're not looking for a perfect score. You're looking for awareness, and in that awareness, you find a gentle opportunity for course correction. Not for the past, which is gone, but for the future, for the next time a similar thread appears in your tapestry. Perhaps you see that you met a minor inconvenience with more frustration than it deserved. You can note that, and then with kindness you can offer a different response now in reflection. In your mind, you can revisit that moment and practice meeting it with a quiet nod of acceptance. This is happening. This is my current material. This mental rehearsal strengthens the neural pathway. It makes it more likely that tomorrow, when a new challenge arises, you'll reach for that response of calm engagement instead of automatic resistance. The final part of the review is gratitude, not for the hardship itself, but for the chance to practice. You might think, today's cancelled plan gave me a chance to practice flexibility. That difficult feedback, however delivered, challenged me to practice humility and discernment. This simple act of reframing completes the cycle. It transforms the day's events, all of them, into your teachers. It ensures that no piece of your fate is wasted. Every joy, every frustration, every mundane task becomes part of your training ground for building the character that can love whatever comes next. This nightly dialogue, this gentle audit of your soul, is how you weave the philosophy into your being, one day, one reaction, one quiet correction at a time. It turns the abstract love of fate into a lived, breathing practice, a practice that quietly prepares you for whatever thread the weaver adds tomorrow. The hardest thread to love is the one someone else wove. When their dishonesty or their carelessness causes your misfortune, loving that fate feels impossible. How do you love a fate born from another person's vice? You don't love the act, you love the opportunity to respond to it. That's the separation, the injustice, the betrayal. These are external events. They are not good. You aren't asked to love them. You're invited to love the arena they create for your character. Your fate in that moment isn't the wrong that was done. Your fate is your response. That's the material you're given, and that material is pure gold for practicing virtue. It calls for justice without vengeance. It demands courage when you're hurt. It offers the ground to plant forgiveness. This shift in focus changes everything. It moves your energy from recounting the wrong which you can't change to crafting your reply which you control entirely. The other person's action belongs to them. It reflects their reasoning, their values. Your reaction belongs to you, and in that space, Amor Fati becomes possible. You can love the clarity that comes from defending a boundary with calm firmness. You can love the strength of choosing not to return malice with more malice. You can love the patient work of rebuilding trust or walking away with dignity. Each response is a love for your own fate, the fate of being the one tested, who chose to meet the test with integrity. To make this easier, the Stoics offered a perspective. See those who do wrong not as monsters but as misguided, as people who are mistaken about what is good. Epictetus said it plainly, when someone wrongs you, remember they acted on a belief about what was best for them. Their judgment was flawed. They confused true good virtue, wisdom, with something external like money or status. Viewing them this way isn't excusing the behavior, it's understanding its root. It transforms the story from a personal attack to a case of human error. When you're cut off in traffic, the driver isn't targeting you. They're lost in a story of hurry. When a colleague takes credit for your work, they're acting from insecurity, a false belief that recognition is finite. This lens doesn't make the action acceptable, but it can drain the poison of personal offense. It lets you see the person as someone ignorant in that moment of how to live well. And from that place, a strange compassion can emerge, not a warm feeling, but a clear-eyed recognition of their error. That recognition protects your peace. It stops you from absorbing their poor judgment as a reflection of your worth. There's an advanced practice from this understanding. It's the conscious, internal act of wishing well for a difficult person. This isn't about being a doormat. It's an internal ritual of release. You might silently say, I wish for you to find clarity. I wish for you to be free from the confusion that causes this. This isn't for their sake, though it may help them, it's for yours. By generating a thought of goodwill, however small, you choose to love the thread of fate that connected you. You accept that this person, with their flaws, is part of your story's tapestry, and you decide their thread won't be dyed with your bitterness, but woven in with your own compassion and release. This practice disarms your own resentment, which is a heavier burden than the original offense. It completes the circle of Amor Fati for a shared fate. You can't love their actions, but you can love your own power to meet those actions without letting them corrupt your soul. You can love the freedom that comes from wishing them peace, and then turning your full attention back to building your own life on your own terms. Loving your fate has clear boundaries. It's not a blank check for resignation. To practice it fully, you have to know what it isn't. First, Amor Fati is not passivity. It doesn't mean you see an injustice and just accept it with a quiet sigh. That would be a misunderstanding. Stoic acceptance is an internal starting point. It's a clearing of emotional resistance so you can see the situation clearly. From that clear space, you're then empowered to take wise, virtuous action. If you witness something wrong, your acceptance is of the fact that it's happening. Your love for fate is expressed in the courage to address it, to work for change from a place of principle, not from frantic reaction. It's the rock's steadiness, not its immobility. Second, it's not a denial of healthy human emotion. The goal isn't to become a statue, untouched by grief or disappointment. Those feelings are natural signals. They tell you what you value. Amor Fati doesn't ask you to suppress the sting of loss or the heat of initial frustration. It asks you to create a space between that feeling and your next move, to feel the sadness fully, and then to ask, how do I carry this love forward? The philosophy embraces the full spectrum of human experience. It just refuses to be ruled by the storms. Third, it's absolutely not a justification for the harmful actions of others. You don't love the malice in someone's choice. You love the arena it creates for your own response. To confuse Amor Fati with excusing cruelty is to miss its entire purpose. It's a tool for your integrity, not a pardon for another's lack of it. Finally, it's not a quick fix or a magical thinking trick. You can't just repeat the phrase and expect peace to descend. It's a lifelong orientation. A muscle built through daily, often difficult, reps. It won't make hardship pleasant. It will make it meaningful. It transforms the weight from a crushing burden into building material. Knowing these limits is what makes the practice real and sustainable. It prevents it from becoming a thoughtless mantra or a justification for inaction. Instead, it becomes a sophisticated inner compass, one that accepts the weather as it is, so you can navigate the seas with a steady hand. Amor Fati is loving your fate. But it's not a feeling about the past. It's not a hope for the future either. It's a stance, something you take right now. The past is already woven. The future isn't real yet. The only place you can actually meet your fate, the only place you can love it, is here, in this breath, this sight, this task right in front of you. The Stoics were really the original mindfulness practitioners. Their whole philosophy was a training in attention, training the mind to live here, not in regret. Not in anxiety, but in full engagement with what's happening, right here. Marcus Aurelius drilled this into himself. He wrote that you could throw away your future by worrying about it. And you could discard the present by refusing to attend to it. His instruction was simple. Concentrate every minute on doing what's in front of you. Do it with precise seriousness. Tenderly, willingly, with justice, put your whole mind into it. He wasn't talking about grand actions. He meant the next logical step, the letter to be written. The conversation to be had, the walk, the dish to be washed. In that full absorption, there's no room for resisting fate. There's only action meeting circumstance. That's where love becomes practical. It's the love of pouring yourself completely into the thread you're weaving. You can cultivate this. There's a simple technique. It takes less than a minute. Wherever you are, just pause. Let your awareness settle into your senses. Don't try to change anything. Just notice with acceptance 3 concrete details around you. The first might be a sound, the hum of a computer fan, a bird outside. Notice it without calling it good or bad. Let it be a fact of your current fate. The second could be a physical sensation, the floor under your feet, the fabric on your arm, the weight of your body in the chair. Acknowledge it as part of the present reality you're in. The third could be something you see, light on the wall, the color of an object, the way shadows fall. See it clearly like it's the first time. In that brief pause, you're practicing Amor Fati. You're accepting the sensory truth of this moment. You're loving the fate of being exactly here, now, with these sounds, these feelings, these sights. This isn't an escape, it's an arrival. It pulls you out of the stories about what should be different. It plants you firmly in what is. From that anchored place, your next action flows. Whether it's facing a difficult duty or enjoying a simple pleasure, it flows from a center of calm acceptance. You meet your fate not as a concept, but as the very ground you're standing on. And from that ground, everything becomes possible. That anchored presence is where growth starts. It's slow, quiet. Amor Fati isn't just one moment of acceptance. It's the engine for a whole life's character. When you keep choosing to meet difficulty not with flight, but with a kind of engaged curiosity, you're doing more than surviving a bad day. You're sculpting a self that gets more resilient, more discerning, more deeply grounded with every year that passes. This is the long arc, the transformation that happens across decades, not in a week. Your misfortunes in this light aren't interruptions to your story. They're the essential tools, they're the chisel, carving away what's fragile to reveal the stronger form underneath. Think of a tree on a windswept cliff. It doesn't curse the constant gales, it responds to them. Its roots dig deeper, finding purchase in the rock. Its trunk grows denser. Its branches more flexible. The very force that threatens it becomes the reason for its strength. The wind is its sculptor. Your challenges are your personal wind. The rejection that forced deeper self-reliance. The period of uncertainty that sharpened your intuition. The loss that expanded your capacity for compassion. Each event, especially the ones you'd never choose, applies a unique pressure, and under that pressure, if you don't splinter, you consolidate. You become more of who you're capable of being. This perspective invites a long-view reflection. Cast your mind back over the landscape of your life so far. Find one difficult season, one chapter you'd have gladly skipped. Maybe it was professional stagnation, a health challenge, a personal heartache. Now, with the clarity of distance, ask a gentle question. How did that period, against all odds, shape you in a positive way? Did it teach you a patience you didn't know you had? Did it redirect your path toward more meaningful work? Did it show you the true depth of your own endurance or the loyalty around you? The goal isn't to romanticize the pain. It's to recognize with clear eyes the character that was forged in that particular fire. Can you from here offer a quiet thank you to that fate, not for the hardship itself, but for the person you became because you walked through it? That gratitude is the final, mature fruit of Amor Fati. It's the acknowledgement that the rough thread wasn't a flaw in the tapestry. It was the very element that gave the pattern its depth, its enduring strength. Understanding the idea is one thing, making it a habit is another. The Stoics had a word for that basic skill, prosochē. It means attention, a constant awareness of your own judgments, of your reactions. That attention is the door. Without it, your intention to love fate just gets lost. In the mind's automatic noise, you react before you even see there was a choice. Prosochē is about catching that moment, noticing the story you're telling yourself about the spilled coffee, the rude comment, the traffic, while the story is still being written. That pause, that noticing, that's where the habit of Amor Fati starts. You can't love a fate you don't even know you're fighting. So the first habit isn't some grand acceptance of life's big blows. It's this simple, daily attention to your own inner voice. Start by listening. For one day, just watch your mental commentary on small things, the weather. A slow website, a long line. Don't try to change it. Just notice the tone. Is it frustration? A sense of entitlement? A quiet complaint? That observation is the raw material. It shows you where your automatic resistance is, and where there's resistance, there's a chance to practice a different kind of love. We build this habit where it's easiest. On the small, daily irritations, the goal isn't to face a major crisis on day one. It's to train the muscle with light weights, so the frustration of lost keys becomes your gym. The disappointment of a cancelled plan becomes your meditation. The pointless bureaucratic step becomes your arena. By practicing here, in these safe moments, you're creating pathways. You're teaching your brain a new default, one that looks for the way inside the impediment, not just the complaint about it. Let's make it concrete, a 7-day challenge. For 1 week, your task is simple. Each day, you pick one minor, unwanted event, something that would normally get a sigh, an eye roll, a muttered complaint. And you consciously apply one single technique. You're not trying to solve the event, you're using it as practice. On Monday, maybe cognitive reframing. The event is a last-minute schedule change. Instead of the internal grumble, you pause, you look for the utility. This could be useful. It's teaching me adaptability. Or it's creating an unexpected pocket of time for something else. On Tuesday, gratitude for the lesson. The event is a critical comment. You feel the sting. Then you ask, what is this challenging me to practice? Humility, maybe, or the skill to separate useful feedback from noise. You find one grain of truth to be thankful for. On Wednesday, Stoic silence. The event is someone speaking to you with sharpness. You feel the urge to retort. Instead, you take one deep breath. You offer that internal nod. This is happening. This person is acting from their own place. You respond only if you need to, and from calm, not reaction. You rotate through the techniques, the view from above, the premeditation of goods, the focus on duty. The specific technique matters less than the act. The conscious act of applying it. The key is consistency, not perfection. Some days you'll do it well, other days you'll only remember an hour later. That's fine. The act of remembering, of reviewing and thinking, I could have met that with Amor Fati. That's still practice. It's still strengthening the pathway. By the end of the week, you'll have proof that you can intervene in your own experience, that you can, even briefly, choose to love the threads of a mundane, frustrating day. And from that proof, a quiet confidence grows. The confidence that when a larger, darker thread appears, you'll have a practiced hand, ready to weave it. That final freedom is a quiet place inside. The Stoics had a name for it, the inner citadel. It's not a physical fortress, it's a mental one, a space of reason and will that nothing outside can ever really breach. It's the core of you that stays untouched, no matter how chaotic the world gets. And the practice of Amor Fati, loving your fate, is the master key to that gate. Because when you choose to love what happens, you perform a kind of disarmament. You strip the outside world of its ultimate weapon, which is its power to dictate your inner state. A traffic jam can't make you frantic unless you grant it that authority. Criticism can't wound your sense of worth unless you hand it the knife. By accepting an event, and then finding a way to love the opportunity it presents, you pull all your energy back inside your own walls. You stop fighting the storm and become the calm at its center. That's the Stoic promise, not a life without difficulty, but a life of unshakable tranquility amid difficulty. A self-mastery so complete that your happiness is no longer a hostage to fortune's whims. You realize your peace was never out there to be found or protected. It was always here in this citadel, waiting for you to stop looking elsewhere and simply occupy it. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, returned to this idea constantly. He wrote about retreating into this little plot within, to be free of pains and desires, to feel that what happens to you from outside is nothing compared to the happenings within. That's the ultimate freedom Amor Fati secures. It's the freedom to experience loss or setback or even joy from a place of deep equanimity, to feel the emotion fully, yet not be swept away by it. Because you know at your core that your character, your ability to choose virtue, remains yours alone. Which brings us to a final thought from Epictetus, the philosopher who began his life in chains. He defined freedom in stark, beautiful terms. He said, "He is free who lives as he wishes, who is subject neither to compulsion, nor hindrance, nor force, whose choices are unhampered, whose desires attain their end, whose aversions do not fall into what they would avoid." At first, that sounds impossible. How can anyone live free of hindrance in a world of traffic jams and difficult people? But then you see the Stoic twist. The only way to live as you wish is to wish for what actually happens, to align your will with reality, to love your fate, when your desire is to act with virtue in whatever arena you're given, and your aversion is only to corrupting your own character, then nothing outside you can ever truly hinder or compel you. You are free because you have chosen to want the very thread you are given to weave. The Citadel gates are closed to chaos and open only to your own reasoned choice. That's the quiet victory of loving your worst misfortunes. It isn't that they cease to be misfortunes. It's that they cease to have any power over the one thing that truly matters, the unassailable peace within your own soul. This quiet freedom inside you, that's where the whole practice is headed. Amor Fati is that radical, active choice to embrace every part of your story, the smooth and the coarse, as necessary material. It's deciding to stop wishing for a different past or a different present, and to start building a life of virtue with the exact reality you've been given. We started by seeing how this love isn't passive. It begins with that basic sorting of the dichotomy of control, accepting what you can't change, and pouring your full effort into what you can, which is always your character. It grows through the daily work of reframing, looking at an obstacle and asking not why it's here, but what it makes possible. It's deepened by a gratitude that finds the lesson in every hour. And it's proven across the long arc of a life where our deepest wounds often become the source of our greatest strength. Seneca captured that enduring spirit. He wrote that a wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not. Contentment here isn't complacency, it's that profound alignment. The alignment of your will with the world as it is, so you're no longer at war with your own life. This is a practice, not a perfection, so start small. Be patient with yourself. The next time you face a delay, a frustration, a moment of disappointment, see it as an invitation, a gentle invitation to practice. Pause for just one breath, acknowledge the reality, and then choose in that small arena to meet it not with resistance, but with a quiet willingness to find the way forward. That single choice, repeated, is how you weave the philosophy into your days.